For Lacey, good morning. How are
you? Sometimes I never know, it's about to happen.
We are live. How are you doing, my sister?
I'm good. It's kind of wrapping up all the holiday stuff and all that. So trying to get back into some routine. So no, good. You?
Yeah. Look, we got trouble here already.
Right on the money.
Adam Hoots, he says, it's time, baby. The lean police have showed up. Oh my goodness. So
what about you? No, how are you? How are you doing?
Oh my goodness, I'm amazing.
Nice.
I've been tinkering around with trying to put together this little webinar micro learning experience.
Yes, tell me about that.
Oh man, I'm excited. So 16 people have signed up, which was in my head, I got to manage my expectations.
Yes.
Of course I want 1 million. But then I'm like, you know what? If 10 sign up, that's good. Don't beat yourself up. And 16 have already signed up, including Adam, and a bunch of other ballers have signed up. So I'm looking forward to doing a little bit of mind shifting on Monday.
Well, you're killing it. I'm just gonna tell, and I know your head can only fit in the screen, but still, no, your marketing right now on your SQI stuff is on point, because you have shifted a little bit from the value and here's all the end results, and you've shifted it to these little nuggets of oh crap, I feel that. Oh, I see that. Oh, I've witnessed that. That is exactly what happens on the jobs. And so I think, in my opinion, that's when I saw that, I was like, oh, I hear that, I see that and hear that all the time. So maybe that's, you're starting to resonate with some of those people that are like, how do I fix this?
Yeah. And that's just it, right? It's we're all living the same or similar pains from different perspectives. And it can help all perspectives. But, yes, it's more impactful, more immediately impactful the closer you are to the work. So,
yes.
It's just all that kind of nerdy stuff. I got my walk in this morning. I did my 3 sprints up the hill. So,
you're on fire.
I'm on fire right now. Okay. Now there's, you know what? So here's another, everybody out there in the Omniverse. I've been doing some experimentation because there's been some wonkiness going on. I know for sure now, if I'm watching any live stream on LinkedIn through my laptop, I can't see the post that people make from their phone and vice versa until the thing's over and then all the chat comes up.
So you have to have both. You're having to multitask a little bit, or no?
What's that?
To look at, to be a part of it, you're having to look at
you're just going to miss them, right? It's so what I just want to be clear for folks out there, it's not you. It's something to do with, and this happens on LinkedIn specifically. If I'm watching a LinkedIn live stream on my phone and I start chatting, that's okay. It's kind of hard to chat, but anyways, I can't see the posts that are coming in
from the computer,
from somebody that are watching through a laptop, and so that's just, I don't know how to fix that. I know that we can't fix that. It's a LinkedIn thing. So just want to let y'all know, don't freak out. It's all good. And so as I'm blabbing my mouth, we got people jumping in. So we got Mr. Josh. What is up, Josh? Good morning, fam. Josh has been rocking it in the weeds all week. Thank you, Josh. Mr. Jim. Hey, Jim, I love you, brother. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to miss that next damn event you got coming up in the DF Dub because I'm already committed to something else. So some 2024 goal to go hang out and support and learn from Jim and his amazing movement. Then we got the chief marketeer. Says, good morning, no BS.
Some snow.
What's that?
He said, looks, he's got some snow from snowy Connecticut.
Oh yeah. We got Mr. Jorge Gill. What's up, Jorge? How you doing, my brother?
Morning.
He's coming in from San Antonio, Deuce Diamond.
Nice.
And then this guy.
I do. I've gotten some extra time with him, so it's been amazing. Yes.
Uh-oh. Hold on. I got. hold on. I got some funkiness going on my end.
Okay, I can still hear you.
Okay, how about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, and see you. Yes, you're good.
Did you? I heard like 2-3 voices coming in.
No, I didn't. I only heard yours. So I think you're good.
It's probably, I need to take my meds. Anyways, that was freaking freaky over here. Sorry, y'all. Buddy helped you out. Hung out with him yesterday, and he was playing hooky from Emotional Bungee Jumpers.
Yes, but I had to give him his pass, his pass. He said, make sure that I don't get thrown under the bus. I said, I got you.
Okay, so you're not, let me put that bus back in drive.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, we got tons of people. So Gloria's coming in. She said, good morning, Jenny Jess. Folks, if you're out there in the Omniverse, well, actually, I'm going to do this. Shout out to all the low riding lurkers, because I know you there, and I'm happy that you're here. But don't know if you're here or exactly who you are unless you comment. You don't have to, but just know that I love you.
Yes. You're good if you're like back here just kind of cruising, just like,
yeah. That's all right. That's all right. So okay. Lance got some advisor insight for us. Says you can use the user browser on mobile or desktop, not the LinkedIn app. Comments will work.
Okay. So don't use the app.
Yeah, I don't really know what that means, but awesome. Don't use the app. Just
use the internet.
Yes. And good morning. Good morning to you, brother. Thanks for that nugget, my man. Look, we got Sarah.
True. I started way before this.
Oh, that was not fun. I got to figure that out. Denver Waters. What's up, Denver? I'm glad to see you back. Happy New Year.
Yes.
Man. Okay. So first, before we lose everybody, like folks, this is not just a, hey, we love everybody, say hi. We're actually going to talk about some media. We have a topic, don't we? What's the topic, Jen?
Today the image, if the image is what drew you in, the title is What's in Your Echo Chamber. And it has these jellyfish images all over the screen. And so that is Jesse with his hook, because that's what he does. We go designing the conditions for learning and growth. And Jesse goes, I got this. And he goes and finds this amazing visual with what is that hook that's going to like pull people in. And so absolutely, we're going to talk about echo chambers. And what is that? What does it mean? And how does the jellyfish play into all of that? But the overarching goal is, how are we individually and in the community and the tribe that we have designing the conditions and the environments that we're in for learning and growth?
Yeah, it's gonna be gangsta. It is. Gangsta. Yes. And like the whole thing started from the idea of living or creating or being stuck in these echo chambers, which I feel like social media is really good about making that happen. And so, or rather, I should say it this way, it's way more pronounced on the socials than it may be in real life. But I also know that in real life, we do that, like not on purpose. And so I think for me, that's kind of the biggest thing I want to hit people with is, are you doing it on purpose or not? You should be doing it on purpose.
And we're going to dig into that too. We're going to pose a question and then we're going to talk about that.
Yes. So, but first, we want to recognize our people. Miss Leslie, Nerd coming in. How you doing, Miss Leslie? Always supporting us. Love you, girl. Appreciate that. Oh, we got Mr. Cade Keys.
Good morning, Cade.
How you doing, Cade? We got the East Coasters showing up, like rolling deep today. Mr. Terry coming in from the DSO says howdy.
And he just got a new certification. He just got celebrated on LinkedIn for just getting a new, I think it was a pro course certification. So
that's right.
Congratulations.
Hey, he's tearing it up out there. And he was on our 2-year celebration.
Yes, in person.
Was that awesome or what?
Yes.
So and on that celebration, want to make an announcement to and here's another a repeat offender. Yes. Daryl was also there. Good morning, Daryl. And Daryl, you are guilty for the topic of conversation today. It is your fault. we are exploring this idea about the echo chamber because you mentioned it on our 2-year celebration. Chris had signed up, but he wasn't able to make it. He's also coming in from New York, from the upstate. What up, Chris? And so one of the things we did on the 2-year celebration is we got some really great feedback from the tribe. One of those things was to schedule the event, like give a little more lead time on what the topic is and when the thing is. And so we've done that. We scheduled it on Sunday, past Sunday. So there was a whole week for it to get run. Hope that helped. If it didn't miss the mark, let us know in the comments and I'll do my best to make adjustments. The other thing was several folks shared that having another Teams call or Zoom call where we could see each other's face and get to know everybody would be awesome.
Yes.
And so we're planning on having one every quarter now where we can all like jump in, all the tribe members can get to know each other. We'll have some fun. We'll do some talking. And the after parties are still going to be on the audio form. Or now we'll figure out like those are the changes. We're going to put them into play, see how that works, and then consider other ones in the future. So thank you for your feedback, tribe members.
Yes.
What do you think, Jen?
Well, yes, but can we do blue hearts real fast? Just because I see a lot of names on here that we haven't seen before.
What is that? Blue heart.
Okay, so blue hearts. So those of you that are listening and lurking, that's okay. If this is if you've been on, that's great. But if you've also been on and you're willing to like maybe let us know that this is the first time that you're here or that the first time that you've actually like got your fingers typing and saying hello, we want you to you don't even have to put anything else other than a blue heart. And you can type blue heart if you can't find it, or you can right click and go to emojis and find the blue heart. But all that does is signal to us, number one, that you are like taking a jump and doing something for the first time, which is awesome. But what it also does is signal to all of our tribe members that are on here that like you are a person that they need to connect to, and they need to go and they need to, let you know they're there and celebrate. And so what it does is it grows our tribe outside of just this little hour and 15 minutes that we're on this morning, because then they'll follow you and connect with you on social media and things like that. So if you are first time typing or even back in the background, but just want us to know you're there, type a blue heart, put a blue heart in the comments, and that will allow us to start creating some connections.
Absolutely. And just be ready because we got some ballers in the tribe. And so take advantage of that, right? Like capitalize on the opportunity to connect with people, expand your network, and bust the echo chamber. Yes. So I like the words designing conditions, right? Mm-hmm. Like, because we can, right? The life that I'm living right now is not by accident. The life that I lived, we'll say for 40 years, give or take, was entirely by accident. Like there was no intention, there was no purpose behind it. And I was actually doing things that kept me in that situation. Like I say by accident, but the fact that I wasn't taking action, I was responsible for it, right? Like I'm not saying I'm innocent and I'm, it just happened to me. It didn't.
Right.
Because I became aware and still didn't do anything about it. And so what I want to do, my goal for our conversation today is to like 2x4 aware. You don't get to say you didn't know anymore. And also because we got ballers out there, share y'all's gifts and your cheat codes of how you do the thing. What do you think, Jen? Does that sound reasonable?
100%. No, 100%. And I think even in our conversation, kind of things that because we do so much planning, talking about this specifically, it's that kind of you're floating. And are you floating and just no sail, no oars, no direction? You're just kind of like, okay, I'm just kind of moving along. This is so weird. For me, it reminds me of like those things that are wrong. Once, like when you're growing up as a kid and all of a sudden, like now know, like I was doing something and then now I know it was wrong and now I'm responsible. But when I'm a kid growing up and it's like, oh, I didn't realize that was not a good thing. Like, to me, that's you expand that into adulthood, and it's like, well, once the blinders are off, it's not an excuse anymore.
Yeah, you don't get to say, well, I didn't know.
Yes.
Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. So where should we start, Jen? I mean, we got bobbleheads, we got jellyfish.
Well, let's go through. That's a good way to start. I think let's start with the echo chamber, just the concept. So, because we touched on it on the pop-up, but I think just kind of setting the stage on echo chamber and like how that came about. And then let's go through like bobbleheads and jellyfish and accomplices, and like how do we in our echo chambers have those people and why it is not helping us. How about you,
yeah. Okay. So definitions. So echo chamber to me, and I'm interested in how you frame that in your head. But echo chamber, when I use the word echo chamber, or when I heard Daryl, he said he confessed he's guilty as charged.
Yes.
But when I hear echo chamber, it's like I'm saying something and everybody else agrees. And so all we're doing is like, yeah, agree. Yeah, sure. And it's like, we're right, they're wrong. And my problem with that, no, I'm just going to stay there. That's what I mean when I hear echo chamber. What do you think about this echo chamber idea, Jen?
I think for me, the echo chamber, and we've talked about this a lot, so I'm going to try to like pull my thoughts about when we talk together versus my individual. But the echo chamber for me is I am surrounded by people that are not doing anything but just in that space with me. So they're not pushing me and challenging me. And they may even, kind of like keeping me right where I'm at, because like they're good, I'm good. We're just kind of all in this place together. And so when I say something, yeah, that's good. Like, let's just not wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. Or that like you said this, but you're doing this, or what are you like? Nothing that's like forward thinking, in my opinion. The echo chamber is like, right now we're in this place and we're all good. So let's not rock the boat. Let's not create waves. Let's not make this like super scary and uncomfortable. Like, let's just like, okay, we're all good. Like, that's the image I get when I think about the echo chamber.
Got it. So here's an example of the echo chamber. Jen said something, and because she threatened Josh said, wow, great point, Jen. No, I'm joking. Like,
thank you, Josh.
But he's pointed, all right, he's in agreement. And like, so there's some subtleties to it, right? There's some subtleties around, we agree, let's support each other. Like, we need to support each other. And how do we incorporate dissenting opinions so that we can check our assumptions?
Ooh,
right?
Yes.
For me, that's the thing, is how do I intentionally surround myself with people that are going to help me challenge my assumptions, because that's where the growth is for me. So Leslie, I'm flashing this up here because she's adding comments to see if it loads all of the comments, because she's not seeing any. So not sure if it's worked for you yet, Leslie, but we don't have control over that. But thank you for your comment.
Yes. And maybe somebody earlier said, Leslie, like if you're in the app versus on the online version, sometimes it looks different. So it may help with the comments.
Yeah. Yep. So echo chamber, bring out your badass self, says agreed. Echo chamber are people that don't want to hear anything that challenges their beliefs.
Okay. This is a great segue into one of our questions that I would like to start. We want to pose it, but I also want us to talk about it. So we can throw it out, let them start giving us feedback. But one of the questions, and this was tied directly to some feedback and what that looks like. And so with emotional bungee jumpers, we have some exercises. And yesterday, I was in a conversation, and some feedback based on some questions and things like that made me like, I'm going to say uncomfortable. I was just like, oh, like this, I'm not used to this, what this is doing right now to me. And why am I feeling this way? And so it got me thinking, and then you and I got to talking. And so my question to you is, when we're talking about this echo chamber too, and the people you surround yourself with, what kind of feedback that you get makes you squirm? And the question for me started with, and I told Jesse, I was like, before we started doing all the stuff he and I did, and and we were all in this space we were doing, the feedback that made me squirm was the truth.
Ooh.
And so that's like, I mean, and then I went, what? But it was because when I started thinking about it more, it's because I didn't have the right people around me. So I was surrounded by people that, it was like attaboys and all these things. And then someone said something that I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel good. I don't like that. But it was because someone, whether they were, they were brave enough or they, saw something, they were holding a mirror up and making me see something that was not, maybe so great. But that's what used to make me squirm a lot. And now that I think I've expanded my group to where most of them love to hold mirrors up and have no problem telling me things that I could do better, and that and stuff like that. What I've realized is this transition now to people. What makes me squirm right now, and then I'm going to ask you, so be ready. What makes me squirm right now is people that give me feedback that expose my fears. And that, like, I literally hit me yesterday is that and it, not the squirming of, I don't want to hear this. It's like, oh, this is like not the great, like, why am I feeling this way? And so those are some big awakenings for me. So I'm going to pose it to you, and then hopefully people can start giving us some more stuff to talk about.
Yeah. And so as I'm answering it, tribe, I want y'all, like, we're asking you too. This isn't just Jen and I, and yes, we have some answers. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my answer to what kind of feedback makes me squirm. The absence of feedback makes me squirm.
Okay.
Like, and that I didn't come to that awareness until maybe the last month or so.
Ooh, okay.
Like, positive feedback, love it, right? Because I love me some me. Critical feedback, I love it because it helps me. It has potential to help me get better, and serve in deeper, more meaningful ways. But the absence of feedback is what makes me squirm. And what I mean by that is I get anxious and hyper and want to like, okay, that means it totally sucked. I got to change it. I got to cut it. I got to drop it. I went through, I told you about that. I went through that with my first sweat equity improvement cohort. I'm like, I haven't heard anything, so I'm just going to shut it down and wait till 2024. And then like the next day, I got like 10 people like, oh, okay. And so it was the absence of feedback that got me all spun up. And so anyways, that's the thing for me. And so what I'm working on now is like, okay, if I don't have, rather give people time to give the feedback, the absence of it doesn't mean I need to take action. So I just need to pump my brakes for a little bit and then maybe be more direct about this, whatever I'm seeking, so that I don't overreact to the lack of that feedback.
Okay, I love that. So I have another question for you. So part of our visual was the jellyfish. That you chose that was part of the jellyfish don't have backbones. And the reason is that they kind of don't have maybe the wherewithal or the courage to to say what they think, to give you feedback, stuff like that. So what do you do, Jesse, to give people permission to give you feedback?
Oh my goodness. So a couple of things that I do on purpose is when people get, I'm gonna take the easy way out first. Spend time with them on emotional bungee jumpers. Duh. Right? Like, feedback is built into that experience. Now, outside of that, what I do a couple of things on purpose, because we think we're good at giving feedback, but we're not, because it's rarely is it clear and rarely is it actionable. So whenever I do get clear and actionable feedback, I will tell the person or express gratitude in some way for the clear and actionable feedback. And I'll even go on to explain why that's important, because it helped me do X, Y, or Z, or help me see X, Y, or Z. Now I do that to that kind of anal degree to help them get better at giving feedback, right? To help them understand the thing that I need the most. So that's one. The other thing that I do is I've stopped just asking for feedback. I get very specific about the feedback I'm looking for. So, and we've talked about, I spilled the beans yesterday on our call. I had a survey that had very specific questions. Mm-hmm. And those questions have turned into our monthly challenges for the emotional bungee jumpers. And so one example of the question that I would ask for feedback, instead of saying, Chief Marketeer Steve Martin, you got any feedback for me? Mm-hmm. I would ask specifically, what is it that I do that helps you trust me? That's going to give some precise feedback. Yes. So I mean, maybe in summary is I get precise about the feedback that I'm seeking, and I make it easier for people to give me something clear and actionable. How about you, Jennifer?
Well, okay, well, before, because I will answer this, but you're making me want to ask you the next question.
Okay.
Which is based on what you just said, like, Jesse, can you give, I'm going to say, your perspective on when I hear, like, if someone goes, hey, Jennifer, I need some feedback, and they tell me something. And I go, oh, well, you need to do this. So can you give me the difference between asking for feedback from someone and asking for solutions from someone?
Okay, I'm going to try to answer that.
Okay.
Okay, this is what my observation.
Okay.
Some of us, especially when we're like, there's a power dynamic involved.
Yes.
And with direct reports, we're actually giving them corrective direction. And we call it feedback.
Whoa, okay. I think Steve hit on that on a comment, so that'll be good. We'll get to dig into that in a minute. Yes.
And that's a problem because there is in Jesse land, at least, there is a clear difference. Feedback is like a buffet. You don't have to eat it all. You can just pick your favorite stuff and move on. Directive performance conversations is do this or else, right? There's a consequence associated with that. So that's part of my answer to your question. The other part of my answer is if somebody asks me for feedback, because it's so general, what I'm going to do is say, okay, like, what is it that you're trying to achieve? What is it that you want to accomplish? Or what specific feedback can I give you that's going to help you the most?
Mm-hmm.
So that, we can hone in what it is you're looking for. And so my feedback is always going to be an observation around your thinking or what I think might happen. That's not the same as advice.
No.
Right? What should I like? I'd love your feedback. I had this happen recently, called somebody for feedback and they started giving me advice. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Like, thank you. Because I'm grateful that they took the time and etc. But I wasn't looking for advice. I was looking for feedback, and I was very specific in my question. So I think maybe some of us have it all bunched up in this tangled web, and it might create problems or maybe diminish the depth at which we serve others.
I completely agree. And I thank you for that answer, because I think we do lump everything together. And I think that when we get frustrated and get irritated when we weren't clear.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we're just like, that's not what I was asking, or that's not what I wanted. And we get defensive. And so, and it's because they're either attacking something that we are not comfortable with, or they're attacking something. And it's like, that's not even what I was asking. So part of it is when we're getting something that is not, it can make us squirm because it's stuff that we're not used to, and we need to listen and we need to pay attention. But the other part is when you go and you get irritated and frustrated because that is not what I was asking, we normally will voice it just like that. And we need to do better. And I know this because I have to do better at, if that's what they're giving me, was I not clear in what I wanted?
Yes.
For me, that's the whole feedback conversation is you gave great examples of, I get very specific so that I'm guiding them into kind of what I'm asking them for. But we suck at sometimes being clear on what we want. And then also, it's what we want. And when we get it, it may hurt a little bit. It may sting a little.
Yes.
It may not, even though in our minds, it's like, I know what I want and I'm asking for it clearly. And then I get it. And, okay, well, maybe it doesn't make me look very good, or it doesn't make me feel very good, or that is not my intention. We usually will voice that immediately because that's how we're trained and conditioned, instead of like, okay, I asked for this. They just gave it to me. I do need to sit and kind of take this in as to what did I ask for and what did I get, and not react like that, because you and I have talked about this. When you react like that, the likelihood of them giving you more feedback, honest feedback, authentic feedback later is diminished.
100%. Right. And so that takes us all the way back to like the point, the echo chamber. Yes. When I respond defensively to feedback, those people are not going to give me the meaningful, challenging feedback that I need.
Right.
They will either turn off the faucet and stop giving me feedback, or only give me cuddly, mushy, lovely feedback. Right?
Yeah, you got this. Everything is great.
And so I am creating the echo chamber. And so now here's another thing. People, and I've had several conversations with people where they're like, but I'm not defensive. I'm like, okay, sorry.
I'm just going to tell you, I can say that. I am absolutely defensive, even in how I say that.
Yes. It doesn't matter if your intent is to be defensive. And we say this almost every damn show, so we beat it up, but whatever. It doesn't matter if I intend to be defensive. Any response I give to feedback is at risk of being received as defensive. So eliminate the risk. How do I eliminate the risk? I say thank you, whether I like the damn feedback or not, period.
Thank you. That's it. Like, Jesse, I want to emphasize, it's not thank you, I appreciate you telling me what you think, or thank you, I appreciate that you gave me that, even though it may not be exactly, you didn't maybe, like anything after thank you, unless it's their name, is like done. Like you got to get rid of it.
100%. And it takes practice. And if you want to practice, we have a group of amazing people, emotional bungee jumpers, where we practice once a month, and it's amazing. You should sign up. Okay. Let's sign up for that.
Okay. So we have lots and lots of stuff.
We got tons. Okay. So we got some thank yous here. Adam says, thank you for the feedback. Sarah says, thank you is a complete sentence. Yes. Agreed. Now I want to go. So we asked about the feedback, squirmy feedback stuff, right?
Yes.
We got a lot of good squirmy feedbackers in here. Let's see. Where did it go? I lost it. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Steve Martin says, what makes me squirm is any feedback or comment during planned improvement activity that settles on status quo.
That goes back to your direction type, your feedback you said on direct, what did you say? Directive?
Yeah. I mean, some people want to, like some of us, and I know I've done this before. I will camouflage my agenda in feedback. Yes. Right. And that's, that might be a little snaky. But I think Steve, I feel you, right? It's like the status quo isn't working. We're trying to improve. We're trying to change for the sake of improvement and providing a more meaningful experience on this rock. And so feedback that keeps us where we're at can make him squirm. That's what I talk. He also, Steve Martin says, specific questions from Jesse make me squirm.
Yes.
Do I ever do those to you, Jen?
You do. But can we go back to the status quo? Because yes. I like, and it goes back to the accomplices word, which we use that a lot in some of our live streams. But I want to go back to, are you surrounding yourself with accomplices in that something's happening to you? You want feedback. It's not, I don't feel good. And this happened to me and somebody was mean, whatever it is. Somebody said something that it didn't make me feel good. When you surround yourself with accomplices,
yes,
they are going to go, yeah, it wasn't fair. And Jesse, you didn't deserve that. And those are accomplices because they're not helping you. They are not, again, holding the mirrors, like any of that, like, yeah, it's okay. It's not fair to you, Jesse. How does that help Jesse?
It only helps me feel good in the moment.
Right.
Right. Like
yes.
I feel, but it doesn't help me grow.
No. And so and can we dig into that piece? Because we talk about empathy, you and I, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's the difference in being an accomplice and having empathy for the person that maybe is struggling?
Oh, that's easy. For me, it's the difference between sympathy and empathy. Right? Like sympathy, if you want sympathy, I am the absolute worst person to talk to.
Yes, I agree.
Right? Like I don't feel bad for you. And to a degree that's calloused even.
Yeah.
I do not feel bad for you. I know life hurts, life sucks. That's what it is. Yes. What are we going to do now? Right? Like what's the next step? So sympathy in my head is feeling bad for somebody else and getting in there and, oh my God, yes, it's so hard. Like it's just not my game. Mm-hmm. Empathy is understanding what that pain feels like and saying, okay, it does suck. I see it. And what do we want to do about it? Mm-hmm. So for me, that's the difference. And the accomplices will give me sympathy. That's not what I want. I don't need an accomplice. I need some backbone, right? I don't need the bobblehead. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I don't need the jellyfish that's going to be cuddly and squirmy and squishy. I need them to say, yeah, Jess, that did suck. And this is what you did. This was your contribution to the sucky experience. That doesn't feel good, but it's what I need.
100%. And what I found, and we've touched on this a little bit in this conversation, is for me, it's like in my mind, how can I understand what that person is feeling and going through if I personally haven't gone through the same thing? And the answer to that is those interested questions and those, how do I understand where they are, what they're going through, how they're feeling? You don't have to start with, I understand. Like, you don't have to say that out loud. You can ask questions that help the connection, the conversation, and also help them see that you are listening and that you care about them.
Yes. So on that note, Daryl, thank you, Daryl. Daryl says, oh man, there's a freaking amazing.
I know. Josh is like going, this isn't the right format. I'm like, I know, Josh.
So Daryl says solutionizing or giving advice seems like a default setting. Can you highlight the gap to offer quality feedback? And so thank you, Daryl, because that's a big one. And Avianca, I see you out there. Heather, Chris, all of y'all, keep them coming. Do my best to get you up here, but thank y'all. So this is big. Mm-hmm. Because solutionizing and giving advice, that's I'll just call it conditioned behavior.
It is, right? Very much.
Like, especially with folks that have responsibility and influence within an organization. How do you get there? You get there by getting shit done and having the answer, being the problem solver.
And giving direction.
Right? Yes. Giving direction, mm-hmm. which is a necessary skill. Yes. However, if that's all we ever do, we end up building dependence mm-hmm. in everybody around us. Because by solutionizing and always giving advice, I am signaling to the people around me that I know and they don't.
Yes.
right? Even though that's not what I believe, that behavior does that. And then what happens then? They disconnect from their agency to transform their environment, because all I've been signaling to them is that I have the agency, I have the autonomy, I have the answer, you don't.
Yep, 100%.
Right? And people cannot grow in that environment.
Nope.
And so, like, the gap between solutionizing advice and offering feedback, I feel like maybe there's a loose connection there, but it's absolutely connective in that when somebody asks me for feedback, I am going to say, like, around what? Do you want advice? Because a lot of times people, again, we bunch it all up. I'm asking for feedback, but really I want advice. So
yes,
ask for advice, right? And so I put in a lot of effort to avoid solutionizing and giving advice unless people give me permission to do so. And so if you ask me
clarification.
Yeah. So I don't know if that helped at all, Daryl. What do you think, Jen? Man,
where it resonates with me, which I've used this analogy before, is, to me, it's the seesaw. It's the compliance and continuous improvement. And the seesaw is never equal on, like, you're just right there and you're dealing with compliance and continuous improvement at the same time. There are times, and we talked about this, where direction and compliance is the necessary. Like, that's where you need to be, whether it's people learning a skill for the first time, whether it's somebody that is in this state that need your direction.
Yes.
And then there's the other part of it. Once they kind of started figuring it out and they're kind of playing around with it, when do you give them that agency? When do you give them that space? And for me, I use basketball because that's an easy analogy for me, is I play basketball my entire life. So I have a lot of skills. I've coached basketball. There's a lot of things that I know. And there's times where I have to give direction. You have to stand this way. You have to put your feet this way. You have to use your wrist. You have, like, these very fundamental things. And in construction, because that's the space we're in, those are things that are very important. And then there's space, once they've kind of gotten those things, you got to let them do it, and it's not working. And then in their mind, they've got to figure out, okay, what do I need to adjust? Because if I stand there every time, okay, get your wrist right, get your elbow in, get your feet right, and I'm doing that constantly, and then they're in a game, and then they got to shoot, and then it doesn't go in, and they're looking at me, and they're on the basketball court. Like, we've got to be able to give them agency to go, okay, this isn't working. Okay, what do I need to do? And so that's an analogy for me that is easy, because we're always going to be in places that we don't have that voice right there telling us exactly what to do. What are you doing to give them permission to be able to try it, fail it, grow and learn, once you've given them that basic foundation?
Yes. Well, and like, in that deal, there's a theme of comments in here about questions.
Okay.
So we got LinkedIn user saying yes, the best leaders ask the best questions, right? And I think that's kind of what we're talking about. And also tied back to Daryl's comment or question. If I asked you right now, everybody out there in the tribe, to give me a ratio of how many statements you make versus how many questions you ask, my money is going to say it's probably 9-1 statement directive, 9 curious and interested questions, 1. And then Heather also adds, if I'm not getting what I want, maybe we need to pick up a mirror and see if I'm not asking clearly enough.
Right.
Steve Martin says, being clear when asking questions or providing feedback takes intentionality. Destroying the echo chamber only happens when we turn off the reverb on all the microphones. And trust, right? That demands trust. So I think there's something huge there in that. What are the questions that we're asking ourselves?
Yes.
Right. What are the questions that we ask other people? What are we asking of other people? And if we're not satisfied, like Heather said, if we're not satisfied with what we're getting, what's our role in that? Right. Like, how are we playing into that? What is our contribution to that experience? Leslie says, I like when someone asks me a question that makes me squirm, because that pushes me to think. And so that's it. So I'm going to ask you, Jen, because I know my answer. How do you know what the point, like the edge? How do you know what the edge is in terms of whoever you're working with? How do you know how to gauge that so that you don't push them all the way over to where they disengage and you lose them forever?
Oh, that's a good question. So I don't think it's a hard answer. I think part of it is the connection you have with the person, the relationship you have with the person, the space you're in, and how, is it the first time you've been in that space? You got to be uber aware. You got to pay attention to a lot of things. Once you've built some of that trust that Steve talked about, some of that, you've been in spaces where you've been vulnerable and you've let them see who you are too. I think you have a little bit more space there to kind of push, because they know that you're in it with them. But I'm going to tell you, for me, because facilitation is what I do. I do that in every room that I'm in. I'm usually facilitating more than listen to my knowledge and my expertise. Like, I'm usually facilitating the conversation. And to be the facilitator, more questions come out of your mouth than statements. And so when I do that, and this is what I do, you have got to be paying attention to the nonverbal cues that are happening in the room. So for me, that's the magic. And it's hard, because if you don't know your content and you don't know what you're doing, you're worried about what you're saying, which means it's disconnecting you from the people that are out there in the audience and stuff like that. But once you have it and you're rocking and rolling and you know the questions, because you're trying to get them to give you feedback. If you're just giving statements, all you're thinking about is what you are saying. But when you're focused on the questions, I can ask the question, then it's out of my head. And then all I get to do is watch. And I'm giving all my cheat codes out now. So hopefully these people aren't in rooms that I'm facilitating. But as soon as the question gets asked, then I get to disconnect and I get to watch and observe. And part of the magic there is, that's it. Like, when I ask a question, and Adam knows this, he doesn't like it, but when I ask a question, like, I will not say another word. And they could be a room of 5 people, 10 people, 30 people at every level, executive level, job site level, it doesn't matter. I won't talk. I will create space and I will create silence so that they can squirm, be very uncomfortable, and then someone is going to take a jump. I don't know who it is, but someone's going to do it. I get to watch, and who's like looking like they're about to speak, but not. Someone's sitting in the back with their arms crossed because they're like, this is not my cup of tea. Like, I get to observe all of that. That's the magic, because I can see when people, like, those people that want to, and I can look at them and give them eye contact, and I can like give them a little bit of boost. I got those people that are just completely going to be in the background. And as we're talking, hey, Troy, do you have something that you want to say? Because I know that your job site does this. I can then pull them in. To me, it's the nonverbal stuff that you have to be able to pay attention to. And you can't do that if all you're looking at is your cue cards to be able to talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, summary for me is listen with your eyes and your ears.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
You got to pay attention to everybody in the room, and figure out what that threshold is. So for me, when and this, Adam, know, a lot of folks that I've talked to one-on-one know this, I will challenge to an uncomfortable level. And Adam's actually the person who asked me this question. He's like, how do you know? Like, you take it almost all the way to the edge and you just kind of stop. Like, how do you know when to stop? Like, because it's different for everybody. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't really know how I do that. So I thought about it. And here's where I landed. Because in giving the type of feedback that I want to give, and it's the type of feedback that helps people get on the path to becoming the promise they're intended to be, right? So it needs to be like, wake the hell up, but not leave a bruise, right? And so it's really a question, because so in order for me to give that type of feedback or share those types of the depth in those types of observations, there is tremendous risk for me.
Yes.
I might lose you because it's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be easy. So I think the threshold for me is, I feel I can go here and not lose them. And it's going to be far enough that I might lose them. But I'm not here to make me comfortable. I'm here to serve.
Ooh.
Is that?
No, it does. And I didn't say this because it could get me in trouble too, but also like I have to be willing to lose you. And that's like, to me, I've got to be willing to be able to take whatever happens because I'm pushing you, because I see what it could be. And there's been times that I've lost them. They left, they sat with all the stuff that happened. And then they show back up and go, man, I've been thinking about this and this is what's happening. I didn't lose them. But in that moment, I have to be willing to lose them.
Yes, 100%. So back to the question of the echo chamber, right? You have to surround yourself with people that have that type of courage. And that's what I'm doing. And so we got some points here. We got Mr. Robert says, you have to put people around you that strengthen your weakness and challenge you in a positive way, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yes.
Miss Avianca, Avi, what's going on, girl? Not sweet.
She's like, bitch, girl, she's done some stuff. Like, I see you, girl. I see you out there, like you're flexing and doing some stuff.
She says, for me, I think it's feedback that lacks specificity or actionable suggestions. Insert and I hear. I like that. What was your goal in starting this with me? Constructive feedback is always warranted. Love it. Like for me, if it ain't actionable, it's like, have you ever tried ice cream from such and such? Like, don't tell me that. Give me some, fool. Like, don't tell me about it. Be about it. Josh says the setup of LinkedIn doesn't seem conducive for deep level of feedback, right? There are pockets like here where it's respectful, but I think it gets taken so personally when it's public. So I'm gonna hammer on this real quick.
Do it.
Some other points. You know, some people, and even I've had the feeling of like, why is this person disagreeing with me? Like, that hurts my feelings. And so I came to this, it's like, okay, what am I posting for? Am I posting for agreement or engagement? If I'm posting for agreement, I'm really not. Like, yes, I don't want my feelers to be hurt, but I'm really not posting for agreement. I am posting for engagement. And so if somebody has a dissenting opinion or, you know, a different perspective, somebody else made this comment. It's like, let me go ask those questions. Leslie says, when we want to learn more about another perspective, ask more questions. And so are you, this is a question to the tribe, like, are you living by design or by default? Do you know why you're posting on LinkedIn, on the, we'll just say the socials, because we're not exclusive to LinkedIn. We're just kind of friends with benefits. With LinkedIn. But like, what are you posting for? What is the purpose of the post you made this morning? What is the, and furthermore, are you surrounding yourself with jellyfish? Are you surrounding yourself with people that have no backbone, that are so terrified of losing you and all your amazingness that they're not going to tell you you have a booger on your face, right? Are you actively surrounding yourself with bobbleheads that are, oh yeah, you're smart, you're great, you're awesome, you're wah wah wah? Like, are you specific and intentional about picking people that are going to challenge your assumptions? So Jen, are you?
Well, I want to go back to why we post. Like, I love that conversation because we've been blessed. At least I know I have, and I know you and I, we're in the same circles. We don't have a lot of trolls. We don't have a lot of people that jump in and contradict, or I mean, I'm even going to say challenge. They just contradict, and you know, and you're saying this, whatever, but you're a lean person and blah, blah, blah. Like, we don't have very many of those.
Right.
But when they pop up, it's so easy for the first response to be, I'm right, they're wrong. Or they didn't take what I said the right way. Like, those are easy ways for us to get out of, you know, having to deal with this maybe uncomfortable squirminess, is just justifying. And so I've been intentional in the ones that do jump in and like are like, but you didn't say this and this and whatever. And it's so amazing. And I want you to try this. If you ever have someone that kind of jumps in and it's not, they're taking things off topic, or they're doing something that maybe makes you first knee-jerk reaction is just like, delete their comment. That's not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Thank them and provide feedback to what they said. Because that is my default to anybody. And again, I'll probably have more trolls now because of this, but when people come in and just say, yeah, but you didn't think about this, and yeah, you're not addressing this, like, it's very, they're in a place, whether they're saying that to everybody they comment on, or they're in a place based on something that I've triggered in their mind. And that's what they're doing. And when you can, I'm going to say diffuse, but when you can take the enormity out of what they're saying, and you acknowledge it, and you appreciate their feedback and how that plays into the comment and blah, 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 like 100% of the time, like, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't get bigger and it doesn't get uglier because I've now taken the fuse out.
Yep.
And so it's not to diminish what they're saying, but it's like, it's not my place to get in this spiral. And you've seen them, all of you have seen them, these spiral conversations that end up getting somewhere that you're like, that's not even where I started. That's not even like, now we're going down this road. It's distracted me from what's important. And now I feel better because now I've justified what, like, is that the reason that you're putting stuff out on social media? And so going back to your question is, why are you posting? And you know that, a lot of the stuff that I'm all over the place, but a lot of the stuff that I post, stuff I believe in, stuff I feel that we need to be addressing in our construction industry, things that are important to me. It doesn't matter if someone else posts something that goes against it, if I know in my core what I'm posting is real. And like, for me, like, all the other stuff is great, but it's also like, it's not going to change what I post tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, not a soapbox there. Sorry.
We went to like 3 different, but I think it was around, how do I react to the comment and the post that blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Anyway, so design default.
Yeah. Design default, right? So if I was living by default, I would respond to a comment that got me off center in the moment in an emotional state, because it has happened.
Yes.
Right. Like, it has happened where I do have like 1 or 2 feelings, right? Where somebody posted something and I'm like, I felt some kind of way about it. Like, that's not the time to post, dumb. Yes. That would be me living by default. Yes. Same to somebody giving me feedback and me responding by saying, well, yeah, but what I was really actually trying to that's an instinctual emotional response. That's living by default. Living by design is saying, that hurt. That bugged me. That stung. Right? Like, what the hell are they trying to say? Why are they trying to take my stage? This is my stage, all of that. Just saying, wait a minute, what is their perspective? Where are they coming from? Maybe this is an opportunity for me to understand a different perspective. Mm-hmm. Like, when I don't have I'll call it discipline to understand or seek to understand, all I can do is judge. And if all I do is judge, and let's just say they are being an ass, and then I respond by being an ass, guess what? You got 2 people showing their ass, right? And now everybody knows I'm a dummy too. That's not what I want. Like, I'm trying my best to hide that I'm a dummy. So instead, I'll pause, let it digest, and try to understand the person's perspective. And also be clear that you're right. And that is not like, that's good. And this is why I ignored all that other crap, because that's not what's important to me. And that's not what I'm bringing to the table. I am precisely talking about this thing. Did I leave some stuff out? Yeah. And it wasn't by accident, right? So it's an opportunity, not only for me to understand somebody else, but it's also an opportunity for me to convince people that I'm a decent guy. True. Now, so there's that. Now, I also have posts where, and actually Jake Harrell is like the expert at this. Yes. And like, I'm every now and then, like, man, I should do more of that. Like, stir it up. And so when I'm being like selfish, talking a little shit on the post gives me a lot of impressions, right? People get engaged, they get fired up. And now I'm not doing it for, again, back to the question, why am I posting, right? Like, I'm not doing it just to get impressions. I'm not doing it for agreement. I'm doing it for engagement. I am working at building connection with the people in the Omniverse. I am attempting to deliver some value from the unique perspective and experience that I have. That is what I'm doing. If I want attention, I got my fishnet hoodie. I'll put that bad boy on and I'll give me some attention. So I'm not saying that there's only one reason. I'm saying that each post has its own purpose.
It does. And I just want to give kudos to Jason Schroeder, who is rock star on so much stuff with social media. Like, you can tell even a transition in his growth and his learning by design, where, very focused on his content and the things he's doing, but like, he's made a transition to where he focuses so much on connection and so much on community and so much on that part of it, that like it now has become something else, along with all the amazing stuff he does. And like, that's the growth, that's the learning, that's the by design, that sometimes like by default we're doing one thing because we want to make money, we want to get business. But when we're starting to do it by design, then it expands and it allows us to do so much more and connect with so many more people.
Yeah, I mean, so again, I've had this conversation. I've had this similar conversation with about 3 people in the last month, and they're kind of at a crossroads. Maybe not a crossroads, but they're having a pretty significant awakening about where they are and what their current life experience is. And they're like, "How the hell did this happen?" By default, right? And holy hell, how do I make it what I want it to be?
Yes.
By design.
Right.
And what I want, like I said at the beginning, what I want people to know, like, one, you talked about Jason. There are a bunch of amazing people out there in the Omniverse that are phenomenal examples of what living by design looks like, even though it's a curated version of them because it's on the socials. But they are.
Yep.
So there's examples. If you want to see what it looks like, you can see it. Number 2 that I want people to like walk away with is the question. Like, I love Steve Martin's response. Are you living by design or default? I'm living by redesign. And I think that's the main point here, is if you haven't, you can redesign it. He made a comment on one of my posts today, bringing in, I just forgot his name. Deming. I was going to say Covey, not Covey, Deming, right? Like, here's the truth. When we live, like, the experience that I'm having in my life is because the life that I've been living is perfectly designed to produce those results. If I don't like those results, I need to redesign the system, right? One of the most valuable things that I've done, the most impactful things that I've done to stop living by default, is surround myself with courageous people that are going to point out my opportunity or areas, or like Maria, shout out to Maria, my opportunities to grow, right? That are going to say, you have a problem, you're not showing up like you can, you are underserving the community, you have this capability, you have this head stuff that you need to get over. Guess what? The life I'm living right now is pretty damn good. And it ain't by accident. It took a lot of effort to get there. What do you think, Jen?
Well, it's being in a place to receive. And so I think that goes back to vulnerability, to trust the people you have around you. We talk about that a lot, your tribe, the people that you surround yourself with. Or if you're in a place where you can trust, and Steve said that earlier, but also the vulnerability that the exchange of vulnerability. And I'm just not going to show up and tear off my armor and go, bring it on. I can take it. Like, is it a mutual vulnerability? You have people around you that you've created a safe space. You've created a space meaning that we can be open, we can be honest, we can share these things because we're helping each other grow and we're helping each other get there. Like it's a different space. And you know that like what you and I've been able to experience just in the last couple of years, like that is expanded so much for me just because I've allowed myself to take the armor off and be able to receive along with being able to contribute. And I think that that's a big thing to think about.
Oh, Jen. Yeah. Ooh, we're almost out. We got 10 minutes. But you said something super, super important. I know that when I'm around people that only give and don't receive, that is a sucky experience for me. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm not exactly sure why. I think part of it is because I want to contribute. Mm-hmm. Right? Like the experience of reciprocal propulsion, me speaking into your life, mm-hmm. you speaking into my life, and the power that creates, that is what I am living for.
Yes.
Now, if you and I were interacting and all you ever did was bless me with your genius and never allowed me to speak into your life, guess what? We ain't gonna be talking no more.
Nope.
Right? And so there has to be this mutual thing where you nailed it. Like if you're not prepared to receive, why are you giving feedback? Like it's a give and take thing. I'm gonna spend more time thinking about it. And so Daryl makes a good point. Like we're not, and this is good because I want to be clear. Like, well, I'm not bashing the echo chamber. There, you know, when I get my little feelers hurt, I need some sympathy. I'm never gonna admit it. I'm probably gonna go back and clip this piece out so there's no evidence, right? Like sometimes, you know, for a little bit, if I feel, you know, poor Jesse, like, yeah, you're right, poor me. Like, okay,
you don't call me for those conversations.
Yeah, no. But Daryl says echo chamber is great, and so there's some other value for echo chambers. Daryl says echo chamber is great for developing clarity, for gaining confidence, but then spread that awareness and information in your service to others and risk the pushback and challenges. So visit the echo chamber. Don't live in the damn thing. Mm-hmm. That's the way I took it. How'd you take it, Jen?
100%. And it's going to be part of my final thought, but I'll bring it together here. It's the boat that we always talk about. The boat. Are you there? You know, there's so many people on the boat, and there's some that are like in the front, like leading and creating direction and guiding and stuff like that. You know, those people in the middle that are just kind of like chilling. You know, not really engaging, but also not like taking away. So they're kind of the people in the echo chamber that are, you know, just there. And then those people that are trying to sink it and trying to sabotage it. And so in my mind, a lot of this conversation, like, where are you and where are the people around you when it comes to that boat?
Yeah, I think that's an important question to think about. Like, did people just, I mean, in my head, again, so when I take back when my license was suspended and I was on the bus, I had no input or influence as to who I was going to be sharing that bus with. Mm-hmm. Living by default. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't have to take the bus. So I get to live by design, right? And so the people, again, like your analogy is the boat is like, who the hell am I inviting on the boat? And am I
who has a ticket? Who has a ticket?
Am I just getting there? No, I am not giving everybody a ticket. Only super cool people like Leslie, like Jillian. What's going on, Jillian? Coming in from Facebook land, right? Not everybody's gonna get a ticket to the boat, period. And I think if you haven't figured out the criteria of the people that you're going to give a ticket to, you're slipping. Yep. You're living by default. Figure out what that criteria is and figure it out. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not comfortable. It's not easy, but it is absolutely necessary.
And when you're thinking about those people, do they make you feel good? Are they helping you grow? Because they're not always the same. In fact, most of the time they're not. And so there are times, like Josie said, where you need some of that to feel better. Most of those people that help me feel better are not the ones that help me grow.
Truth. And so I'm going to like twist that around and say, you see, everybody, I was trying to help you grow.
So if he's out, it's because you weren't making any progress. I'm just going to say. He's watching going, yeah, you're not listening.
No, that's not fair, because I've been, I've hurt people in my life, and I'm going to use the excuse or the cover that I was trying to help people grow. But I used to pride myself for being super honest and super direct. Mm-hmm. But all I did was damage people. All I did was hurt people, because I didn't, kind of back to the top of the conversation, people weren't asking for feedback or advice, but I was going to give it to you. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I was overstepping. I never got invited in. And so maybe that's another thing to think about. Like, are you being invited onto the boat? Because if you ain't, ask. And if they say no, find another boat.
Or ask why too, because sometimes things you've done that can keep you off the boat.
Yes. So I'm distributing the link to the after party, and Miss Sarah, bring out your badass self. Ganella says, great conversation. Can't wait for the after party. I hope we get a huge group. So I'm posting the links on all the socials. Jen, you mind wrapping this up with some closing thoughts?
Yeah. So my closing thought is a challenge based on our conversation today. It's not a big ask. It's not a heavy lift. Is when you get off the call today or this weekend, think about the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Just think about those, list them, write them down. And the only thing I'm asking you to do is keep doing everything you're doing the same. Keep showing up the way you're showing up. And then in your mind, when you engage with each of those people, who are they in your life? Are they the jellyfish, the bobbleheads? Ooh. Are they the accomplices? Are they the ones holding the mirrors? Are they the ones that are pushing you to the edge? Just identify it, because that in itself could help you go, crap, they're all freaking jellyfish. Or I've got all the people around me that are pushing me on the edge, and I am living in this state of like, every moment, do I need to balance that? Like, I don't know the answer, but like, identify those people that you engage with the most, and who are they, and what role do they play? Because that can help you when you're filling your boat.
I love it. And so I'm going to follow Jennifer's lead here and tack on to that challenge. And I'm going to ask you to look in the mirror and ask yourself, not if you're a jellyfish or if you're a bobblehead, but when are you a jellyfish, an accomplice, and a bobblehead, and why? Right? Because I know there are times where I get a little jelly and I get a little bobble, right? I get a little bobbly. Why? And I think, and what's it going to take to like get away from that?
Yep.
Right. So for me, easy answer, it's a fear of loss. Look, Jen, she says, that's what I was going to say, Jesse. Identify who you are for others. Bam. See, she knows. I know.
I think you planted that. It is a plant.
So Sarah's asking clarifying question. Can you clarify, Jen?
Yes. Five people that you spend the most time with. What role do they play in your life? And label them like bobblehead, accomplice, jellyfish, the one holding the mirror, the one right there holding you right, pushing you right to the edge. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, you just kind of identify when you finish with the interaction with them. Where do you feel? What do you feel? What happened? What did you learn? How did you learn? How did you grow? Is there nothing? Are you feeling nothing other than just the space that you're in?
Yeah. Yes. Awesome. Thank you. And I'm going to say, folks, like if you did that and use that information, do something with it, you are on the path to living a life by design.
Yes.
100%. So with that, let's close. You ready to close? After party?
Yes.
It's all over and all the different things, I think.
So those of you that have not joined the after parties, like that, all that is right now, Jesse and I do a lot of talking on this. We try to engage you, but we are doing a lot of talking. You see our face. So the after party is a click, and you get to come into a room and you get the choice to just sit and listen to other people other than us talk, or you can raise your hand, join the stage, and your voice can be heard along with other people. And the after parties are on fire. The conversations blow up even beyond this. And usually our next topic comes from that.
Yes, yes. And I'm just going to close out by reading Ian's post comment here. It's Happy New Year. Play the long game. Be consistent. Invest in people. Show up and shed those folks that don't serve your mission.
Magic.
That's what I'm talking about.